Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Today, I'd like to freestyle a little bit about something I'm deeply appreciative of and an insight that I came to thanks to brothers in our group. So this past Wednesday, we had our intensive session, which I facilitate, and this group has a mix of brothers, ambitious, high-performing men. Some of them had been in the group for a couple of years. Some of them had been in there for a couple of months. But all of them have one thing in common. They are the most dedicated and serious about their reboots when it comes to just the men in our ecosystem. Like they demonstrate it. They sacrifice weekly to show up to the sessions. And every week, honestly, for the past 2 years or so, there are these themes that have been coming up. And this is very different from what has been happening for years. It's almost as if that particular group has evolved. Like it's almost as it is evolved into this organism that, based on the energy of the men in there and the repeated problems, it pulls out the next thing that should be done. This is rare. As a coach who creates programs based on the problems people have, usually you solve problems, but it is very rare that a program becomes so seasoned that it starts squeezing out much deeper problems. So for instance, one of the things that came up in the past few weeks was this issue of rumination and overthinking. Now, on the surface, even if you were to slice in a little bit, it seems like a relatively simple issue to resolve. Like, just don't think too much. But when we started diving into it, and as we started relating to each other, we came to find that it's an issue affecting all of us, and every single one, like deeply affecting us, overthinking every little thing, and the impact it's having on our lives was significant. I've made quite a bit of progress when it comes to rumination, but I still fall victim to it. So that was an example. But the biggest thing that I realized this past week was that safety is so important. And it's a very difficult thing for men to talk about. One of the brothers in our group had shared that, and I hope he doesn't mind my sharing this, obviously he shall remain anonymous, but he prompted this, that he feels that the group is his safe space. And I'll be honest with y'all, it's not a word you'll hear the men in our program use, like safe space, or that this group is our family. It doesn't mean we don't feel that way. We all resonate with that feeling. It is actually a safe space, but we rarely have men express that. Rarely. The results show. And it got me thinking as to how the group evolved into what it is today. And what I've come to realize is that personally, I have always desired a safe place. Always. I have often sought security, but I've also realized that security is nothing but an illusion, because you could lock yourself up. You could feel as secure as you wanted to be. You could get multiple passports, bank accounts. You could have a gun at home, security guards, bodyguards. You could eat clean. You could do all of these things, but some random thing could happen and you could just drop dead. It's an illusion. It's to feel a certain way. But safety, on the other hand, is based on the present moment. Security is in the present, but mostly it has to do with the future. And to get to security, you do have to obsess over the future. Spend a lot of energy thinking about the future and the past too. Oh, these are the things that happened to me. These are the things that could happen to me. I need to start preparing myself and securing myself. Safety, on the other hand, allows for growth. When you feel safe, you are open to introspection. When you feel safe, you are free from judgment. When you feel safe, you are open to listening to others. When you feel safe, you are able to be vulnerable and be your best self, your true self. When you feel safe, you are open to your highest self. Safety is so important. You can have a secure house, but if you do not have the love of a partner, if you do not have the love of your kids, if you do not have that deep connection with them, you will likely not experience emotional safety. You will feel that something is missing. That love that you have in your home. And for my brothers who may not have a wife or kids, you can cultivate this with communities. You can cultivate this with your friends. You will not feel safe. And what I ended up doing, absolutely unconsciously, was moving away from everything that was secure and moving to safety. And I didn't even know this was happening. See, I worked in the door-to-door business, built up a business there. And I mean, I was making good money. I was seeking security. But when you're making like 250 plus grand a year, I mean, and you still don't feel secure, you come to realize that more money is just is not going to make you feel more secure. But I didn't think of any of those things back then. I actually didn't realize that. I wanted to do something that had meaning. I wanted to do something that would, in my world, in my head, I thought, oh, control is important to me. I want to have more control. And so I started doing this. But what I have created is something and a place where not just I, but others can feel safe to be ourselves. Because I was having a meeting with, this wasn't a reboot meeting, this is a meeting with our team at Elevated Recovery. I was thinking of everybody who was sitting in that room and all the people who had joined our company. See, come to our company from other companies. We work with people who come batteries included. Not if you don't have batteries, you will not last at Elevated Recovery. They have previous experience, previous expertise, and they are usually the best at whatever they are doing, wherever they are. But the best don't think like other people. The best have their emotional regulation is a little bit different. The way they see the world is different. Their preferences in life, they're just a little bit different, not average. And I was wondering, why would they join and become part of a porn addiction recovery company? A company that you have to like, be like, hey, what do you do? What do you do for a living? You know, now that I'm traveling more and I have homes in other countries, I'm starting to realize that, the Americans, how I identify an American is Americans, they're people with American accents and the actual American people who are immersed in the American culture. And of this culture, we start our conversations with strangers as an icebreaker with, it's what you do for a living. We are rarely interested in who you are. We determine who you are based on what you do. So for people to come work for Elevated Recovery, knowing that they're going to be asked, what do you do? And their identity in the eyes of other people is determined like that, it makes me curious. And I've come to realize that at some level, all of them realize that this is a safe place, both the program and the company. It is a place where you are not judged for who you are and what you did. We do not allow your shame to thrive here. The light that we shine across everything we do does not allow for that. When I say it does not allow for that, I do not mean it in like some hardcore way. It just simply means that you can share something, you can say something, and we will hear you, but we will not judge you. And you will know that we're not even carrying it with us. We listened, we see your humanity, we give you the space to deal with, maybe you feel a little vulnerable from sharing that, you feel a little closed off because in the real world, I wouldn't even call it the real world, the regular world, you get judged for those things. So we let you release that energy and realize that it's okay. And that's a realization I wanted to share with you guys, that I just learned this week that we're a place where people feel safe. And showing up to that Wednesday session, I'm speaking about a specific session, but to everyone else in all the other programs, if you're not feeling that way, I want to tell you, you're not having enough conversations with your accountability partners, with your reboot heroes, your reboot strategy. You're not with your coaches. You need to show up. It's not just Facebook groups and modules. Stop that. I have over 2,000 videos. There's a lot of content. Nice. It's okay. It's all good. But have a conversation. That's where the change happens. Listen to your accountability partner's struggle. Step out of being selfish. This is how growth happens. With that being said, I want to thank everybody who is listening to this, clients, podcast listener, team member alike, for just trusting that this is a safe place. And also without realizing that I wasn't even aware of that. It's pretty cool to see how this has evolved. And I'm proud of myself let me give myself some props here. I'm proud of myself for not listening to all the business gurus and addiction rehab people who told me the way things should be. I did the things the way I, as a man who had dealt with this behavior, would have ideally wanted it to be, in the face of a lot of resistance. And what is emerging from it is just more and more beautiful and bigger than me, which is what I love. I would ideally love to just disappear from the system. When I say disappear, I mean I want this to be an organism and an entity that keeps growing, raising awareness of this behavior with compassion, with safety, with a system within it that just naturally and organically leads men to freedom. That is what I'd love, for my name to not even be associated with this. And I believe that that is finally happening. So cool. Anyway, I appreciate you guys for listening to this. Don't take my word for it. Speak to someone on our team, but just do one thing. If you do speak to someone on our team, be ready to take action. And if there's something that comes back from the team member that doesn't make you feel safe or comfortable, then let me know. Just shoot me an email, jkemezi@elevatedrecovery.org. That's my personal email. And just say, hey, there was something, you said that it's a safe space, but this thing happened. I'm not in your program and it didn't make me feel that way. Feel free to reach out to me. I know it's a big ask because people don't have to do that. You could just go whatever, I'm done with you. But if the inclination is there and you've invested time in listening to this podcast and the things you've learned here have helped you when it comes to your reboots, I will take the time to respond to you at the very least. I appreciate you.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.